now my mind is blown. No surprise, guess I should have known. Oh, now my mind is blown. No surprise, guess I should have known. You got control of me, break my barricades. Walls are crumbling, grounds they shake. You came to save, but it's way too late. Every single time you stay, I cave. You got control of me, break my barricades. Walls are crumbling. Every single time you say I cave. You got control of me, break my barricades. Walls are crumbling. Every single time you say I cave.
Hello and welcome once again to Neurodivergent News, where we have the resources to help you live in a neurotypical world. I am your host, Deanna Brakefield, the owner of Lionheart Kingdom Marketing, bringing you a weekly episode of this wonderful, wonderful podcast slash radio show that we have just gotten started. So I like to start each show by briefly defining what neurodivergent means for our audience. And it simply means anyone who doesn't process the world quite like you do. And when I say you, I mean everyone because we are all unique at the end of the day. So today I have with me a very interesting lady that I've had the pleasure to meet. She is a holistic abstract artist and an intuitive business creator. I have with me Miss Lauri Watson. Miss Lauri, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the art field?
Well, first, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be joining you and your audience. Art has always been my wheelhouse. I've always been a creative ever since I was little. I was one of the people who in school wouldn't let you borrow my crayons because I was afraid you would dampen the edge, the point of the crayon, and it would be blunt and not sharp like it comes out of the box. So I've always had art as a passion of mine. Um, and I went through school and I attended MICA, Maryland Institute College of Art, and I started out my college career in advertising design, commercial art. But then I decided that I didn't want to be told what to draw and how to draw it, and I went into teaching. And so I used my art background really more with like my students in class. But as I got older and as, life happens, and I've been through two divorces and struggled with my miracle babies, my twins, and other things throughout life, I realized and found that art was always my saving grace, so to speak. It's what I always turned to when I needed stress relief, when I was angry and I needed to express myself and I didn't want to punch a hole through a wall. I picked up the brushes and a canvas. So it's always been a part of my life. It's gotten me through some really tough times, and it's also allowed me to celebrate some really special times. And as I was on my journey, I realized that what I've done for myself, I'm I can do this for others. And so that's how I came to the place where I am now.
It sounds like it's really been a significant through line in your life. It's not. It has allowed you to grow, and it's been a real help for your mental health.
Yes, definitely. I think that abstract art specifically, because there are no rules with abstract art. One of my main statements that I share with my clients is that if you're thinking about rules, you're not doing abstract art. Like there's always rules with theory and where line or shape or color theory. But in what I do, rules are not existent, and it becomes a meditative state, and it's an outlet for those of us. There are so many of us who don't know how to find the right words to express our feelings,
Mhm.
and so art and using expressive abstract art, oftentimes it's once you're done and you've completed a piece that you're then able to share the words that you were trying to find. It comes to you because you know then what your emotions were and what you created. So,
I
yeah, it's
really love
really
I really love one thing that you said, that all the rules kind of fly out the window. I know as a neurodivergent, a lot of times we don't like being told what to do, and we definitely
right.
don't like being told how to create things. And so that sounds ideal. You said you were in the education field. Tell me a little bit more about that. What was it like being a teacher?
So I'm still a teacher. This is my 35th year in teaching, and I work with students currently who are in high school
Mhm,
who have learning disabilities. I'm certified in special education, so working with students with neurodivergent needs is my back wheelhouse. And being able to understand children and adults with neurodivergent needs and being able to allow them to have an outlet for expression, and even using abstract art with my students with organization and things like that, it just helps so greatly for them to know that, like, they don't have to stay quote unquote in the lines. It's okay if you color outside. It's all right. We're all different. We all have to learn how to accept each other. We're all human beings walking with a purpose on this earth. And I just really have seen how abstract art can turn someone around, adults and children, teens, in terms of their mental health and well being, and just feeling heard.
mhm. Let me ask you this. Since you are a teacher with 35 years experience, do you find that it's more or less difficult to get your neurodivergent students engaged in the process?
I think it's sometimes a little more difficult, and I think that's only because of the way our society works these days. I find that many of my students are in that immediate gratification mode. I find that in school specifically, I think that it's different if you're outside of the classroom. And I also think it depends upon the the makeup, so to speak, and the culture of the school where you may be teaching. But I find that a lot of my students, unfortunately, a lot of schools have cut their art programs. A lot of schools are saving money and budgets by cutting the arts, whether it's music or things like the visual arts. And our kids are not as exposed to it as they used to be. And I feel that it's a harder buy in for them because of that, because they haven't had that experience. But once they start and once they get messy and use, I believe also that our God gave us 10 free brushes, our fingers on our hands.
Yeah.
And right, no need to go out and buy supplies. We all have paper around or a wall, and we all have 10 free brushes, which are our fingers on our hands. And I find that once they get started and they realize that the no rules rule is actually the rule, if that makes sense, like they realize there are no strings attached to it, they then start working freely and really then get involved and get into it.
I can definitely agree with the paintbrushes thing. I mean, I have 7 kids, so, I've gone through the toddler phase many times, and I can tell
Yes.
you that their first canvas is their high chair tray, and their first paints are whatever baby food you throw in front of them. So, and they
Very true.
beautiful pictures for you.
They will. That avocado never looked so good, right?
Do you find that once they finally do let go, whether we're talking neurodivergent or neurotypical, that they kind of get that exuberance like a toddler, or do they stay reserved?
Yes. No, I think that they find it's interesting. A lot of students sometimes are more hesitant just because of the social dynamic. They
Hmm.
don't always want to show their joy, which is very sad to a point because they're worried about what others think. But once one student starts, it's like a domino effect. And then everyone is just jumping into it. And those who may not and who may be a little bit more reserved, they eventually come around and they see that it's a safe space. There's no judgment whatsoever. And they then start to loosen up and then they start to feel comfortable and confident and more realizing that they have a purpose and that there's a purpose to what they're doing. And when they realize that there's a purpose, and when whether you're a neurodivergent or a student or not, I think that any student needs to feel that they are validated and they are worth something
Hmm.
and they're not just a body in a chair, right? When you are able to establish that type of a relationship, then that's when things flow. And art is like a bridge to do that, no matter what subject you teach.
So I know that when we spoke during the pre-interview, you used a phrase that I found extremely intriguing. Using art as a calming, powerful place, and that's a lot of what we're talking about. But can you dive into that a little bit
Mm.
for me?
Yeah, so it's actually data driven and scientifically proven that when you are in a creative state of mind, in a creative flow, your brain is actually working in a meditative state.
Hmm.
And art allows for you to create like a bubble of focus. You're focused on what you're doing, but your mind also is separated a little bit. Where with the holistic abstract art that I do and the creating, it's a lot of it is intuitive. And so with that, I don't want you to think about what you're doing. I want it to come naturally, intuitively. And so when you're doing abstract art intuitively and not attaching thought to it, not saying, I need to move the pencil or the paint to the right or to the left, or I need to move more up or down, and you just let it come naturally, whatever flows from you, you're then creating in a space where you are in a meditative state. You are not having your brain working overtime in terms of figuring out what it has to do. And that's one of the biggest difficulties for some of our students and for my adult clients as well is overthinking things.
Hmm.
But they realize I have so many times when my clients, when we're done, they're like, oh, I feel like I just had a massage or I'm ready for a nap. I'm so relaxed.
Do you ever find that with your special education students, you have trouble getting them to disengage? Because I know we can get extremely hyper focused.
That's an always yes. There's always there's always one student at least who is like, "I'm not done yet. I'm not finished yet. Just one more minute, please. Just one more minute." And I give them the minute, but we also have to learn that there are parameters and time for things. And while I'd love to continue with them, there's a point in time that we have to end because I have other students coming, or for my clients that I work with, that I have other clients scheduled who have appointments with me, and that there's a stopping point. But I always share with them that while you may not be finishing right here in the now moment, that it's always open and available for you to continue and to continue at home on your own or to continue the next day or to continue within a new session, whatever it might be. Abstract art doesn't have an end until you tell yourself it's done.
So I know you call it abstract art, but I'm going to ask a touchy question. Are
It's
you
fine.
restricted in the mediums that you use? Is it mostly like paint and charcoal, or do you expand and do like found art?
So I use everything. I think abstract, actually, I take the term literally. It's
Okay.
whatever speaks to you in a creative mode. Now there are certain abstract art activities, let's call them. I'll use the word activities for lack of a better term at the moment. Based on the intention that is being set, and for my adult clients who I work with, based on what their intent is and their need is with our session, some materials work better than others based on what I'm going to do and ask them to do. Paint sometimes works better than colored pencils, but sometimes colored pencils and magic markers work better because I want my client to feel the pressure that they're putting on the instrument that they're using, because that opens up a lot of doors for emotions and feelings and dialogue. So it really depends. I have done abstract art activities where we use nature materials, leaves and sticks, stones and pebbles. So it truly is abstract. There's nothing set where if you work with me, you're only going to use charcoal or paint. It's wide open.
It sounds like it has a lot to do with, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the concept of free association writing.
Yes,
It sounds like it's very, very similar where you just start and let it just pour forth.
exactly. Instead of writing in a journal, you're putting it on a canvas.
I like that. So I am not a fan of the segue, and I don't like to jump around. So I warn people that I'm about to change topics. So I ask all of my guests, what is your most unusual hobby that you have developed?
So it's going to definitely still come back to art.
That's fair.
But I think that I collect objects that are household objects that have a texture to them. So I might be in a flea market and see a very old, let's say, strainer or, oh my goodness, bathtub plug, anything that has scrub brushes, anything that has a texture, I collect it because I use that in my artwork.
I have a feeling your art room looks like the stereotypical artist room where it's everywhere.
Well, I live in an apartment with my twins who are and so my little space that I have carved out in my living room for my art area is quite crowded with paints and things all over the place. There's even a little, I hate to admit it publicly, but there's even a little black splatter paint that went in the wrong direction on the wall.
I imagine that's an occupational hazard to an extent.
Right.
Well, is please forgive me, I do stutter from time to time. You told me a story about a specific teacher back in your day you credited with a lot of where you've gone with your life. I would love to hear that story and have you share it with my audience.
Oh, so in elementary school, I was one of those kids who was, I guess you could use that label of a goody goody. Excuse me. But I always struggled in the area of math. And in sixth grade, I had a math teacher, a male math teacher, and he had shared with me, he sat down with me one day because he knew I was getting very frustrated. And his words to me were, Laurie, I don't ever want you to forget that you are smart and you can do anything you set your mind to do. And he just had that faith in me and instilled a positive um, sense of self with me. And it's because of him that I actually went into teaching. And I was fortunate enough in the beginning part of my teaching career to actually have a teaching position at my old elementary school where he taught me and was able to share with him that I'm here full circle now. I'm now giving back what you gave to me to other students. And so I just always try to keep him in the front of my mind at the start of every year. And not even just in school, but with every client that I work with, I keep his words that he gave to me in my heart and in my mind because that's how I want to provide for others.
So, has it come back full circle for you yet? Has a student returned to you?
It has. I actually it's happened several times, but one specific student that I had, she left high school and then went overseas to study. And she messaged me, she texted me, and she said, my last name's Getlan-Watson, and so my kids call me Miss GW. And so she texted me and she said, Miss GW, I just want you to know that I was just in class and my professor was speaking about different types of learners, and you were the first person who came to my mind. And I just want to thank you for accepting me and knowing what I needed when it was different from what anyone else needed. And I mean,
That's amazing.
couldn't ask for anything more.
So, she mentioned different types of learners. In your experience, is there a specific kind of learner that struggles with what you do?
No, no, not really. I mean, I have to say, I think I think that if there's anyone who has any difficulty with maybe texture, and sensory issues, sometimes that might be something we have to look at. Maybe using your hands in paint isn't the best idea, but we work slow and you, try and make it so that it's a comfortable exploration for people. Like take one finger. Let's just dip our tip of our one finger in and see how it feels and do that. And then before you know it, the whole hand is in.
I was gonna say, I imagine there are quite a few of your neurodivergent students that balk at the idea of putting their hands in the paint just from the stickiness and the tackiness being on their
Right.
hands. But I'm sure they also, once you get them to actually do it, they light up like little kids. It reminds them of kindergarten.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like the top 100 top things I learned in my life, I all learned in kindergarten, right?
Yes, ma'am. Well, you also told me that you have a couple of exciting projects coming down the pipeline in the next few weeks. Would you like to tell us about those?
Oh, sure. Thank you. So I currently am hosting a 5-month container, which is for healers, light workers, and coaches. And it's where I work with them and show them different types of abstract art that they can use with their clients. And that is called the healer's brush. And we just started, but there's always room, doors are always open. And I'm also working one on one with people as an intuitive business creator where I am able to tap into energy and I am able to download specific ideas related to abstract art that will help you as a business owner provide for your clients in any area, from photographers to coaches, in any business that you might be in. And I also have lots of free workshops that I offer in my Facebook group. And so people can reach out to me and find me, Lauri Getlan-Watson, Getlan-Watson. And Lauri is Lauri. My mom decided not to give an E to my name. So you can find me on Facebook, or if anyone is interested in contacting me via email, please feel free to reach me at Lauri, Lauri, at Lilies and Poppies, LILIESandPOPPIES.com.
I love it. I have one more question. You were talking
Yes.
about using abstract art in business. What does that usually look like for the average client? That's very fascinating.
So a lot of my clients work as coaches and help people work through limiting beliefs, the stories we tell ourselves, why we can't do things,
Mhm.
trauma from childhood, wounds, even working through processes of building a business. And oftentimes these coaches want to be able to add to their toolbox. A lot of people do the same thing. What I offer business owners is an option to pull out of their toolbox that no one else does, and to be able to allow them to offer this to their clients. So I just did a session with a healer who's also a coach, and we looked at goal setting, and I walked her through an entire lesson using abstract art based on goal setting and fears and where they want to be in the future. And they learning through that can now use that same exact technique with their clients. And it was just such an incredibly special session that we had. It was actually just last night. And the energy from what we did together and what they put down on their canvas was like spot on. It was crazy. I can't even, the things that I come up with and I download and the energy that's exchanged, like I can't make these stories up. It's fascinating. So that's what I do for others, and I feel like being able to work with other people and coaches allows for me to touch more people because they have their clients that they can then take my methods to.
Absolutely fabulous. I want to thank you so much for your time today, Miss Lauri. You have been a fantastic guest. It has been a pleasure to get to chat with you. And I'd like to remind my
Oh,
listeners that if
thank
you would like to get in touch with Miss Lauri, you can find her information in the blog bio for this episode. And once again, that is Miss Lauri Getlan-Watson. Thank you so much for your time. See everyone
thank you
next
for
week.
having me.